The highlighted yellow is actually how he had it configured. The town tax map shows it, it's a 50-foot right-of-way all the way through. So I was talking to Art Siciliano, and we were trying to figure out, what to do, who to go see first. What he told me that may work, and this depends on, you people and whoever else, is to do a swap with the conservation land, the easement, the Eastman Preserve. And I'm basically here to get your comments back on that. So this was approved by the planning board at one point, and for some reason, no one picked it up.
Any thoughts from the commissioners? Go ahead, Steve.
So, yeah, I got a couple quick thoughts. Just one, where this is, if you purchase it with that easement, if you had title insurance, wouldn't you just go back on that?
I don't know, and I never looked to see if we did buy title insurance. Typically, I do,
Yeah, because your problem's gonna be, I would suggest it's probably easier to approach the other neighbor, because you've got a conservation easement on this parcel. It's not just the town involved.
Right.
It's PLC, and then there's like, we looked into this for something else, and it's like a real high bar to even change a conservation easement, so I suggest it would,
Well, that's what I was, questioning, that's why I'm here, to find out, what the hurdles will be to go through to do
What-
this.
yeah, what's the neighbors, have you approached whoever?
No, I haven't.
That's probably the way to go,
No.
honestly, but it is a high bar, though, to deal with that.
Yeah, I just thought it would be something that the town would, want to correct since they approved it.
I think the first pass it doesn't matter what we want. It's,
Right.
are we able to? And we had an inquiry a few years back that was looked at by some folks familiar with conservation easements and the state's view on those, and the law is pretty explicit that it is a very difficult thing to do to adjust the boundaries of an easement, even just a little bit. It doesn't matter whether it's just a little bit or very substantial.
Right.
That easement language is by design not easy to amend. Perhaps not impossible.
Right.
But the level of effort was suggested to us that it's basically mere mortals would say, this is impossible. I can't
Right.
afford to do this many things, or I can't prove it to that necessity to that level, or whatever it might be.
Right.
So, but just a very high threshold to alter, and it doesn't matter whether it's, what are we looking at, like just above 1/10 of an acre or 100 acres.
Yeah, it's not much. It's very, very little land. And it wouldn't really make wouldn't make a big difference in the way the easement's used.
And I think you'd find pretty broad agreement
Yeah.
with the commission on that. But it's not even a question of would we. The first,
Right.
we're about 90%, or I'm about 90%, not speaking for everybody, in agreement with Steve that our looking into this a while back on something that made perfect sense was it's almost undoable.
Yeah.
Not quite, but it kind of really pushing it to make even a very small adjustment to the covered area of a conservation easement.
Okay, I have other, I guess I could seek further advice to figure out what, maybe different avenues to go through, which I have not done,
Proof the statement out with the
Right.
folks you work with, a real estate attorney, I would suggest you ask and
Yeah.
see what they tell you. if it rings hollow and there's something we're not aware of, then there, you know, then we could perhaps have a more productive discussion, but at
Right.
the first blush, the bar is just set very, very high for making that sort of adjustment.
Okay. So it sounds like it's kind of unfamiliar territory to you too, to some degree, you know?
Right, right.
Okay.
Certainly, it would be new, new territory for us to go into.
Yeah,
That said, yeah, we're absolutely familiar with lot line adjustments and why they're done and
right,
how they make good sense and how mistakes get
Yeah.
corrected. Nothing was, we presume nothing done in bad faith. It's just unfortunate that there is some oversight in the design or in the deeding of the
Right.
design.
okay, all right, well, I'll see what I can do, and then I might be back here, we'll see.
So just to clarify, like,
Yeah.
so the master lot that the easement was intended to come out of wasn't actually the former Ferrante parcel, right? Was it the?
No, that was
adjacent?
never Ferrante.
So the,
That was,
Wouldn't it come out of the,
this came from, well, Steve Flanders used to own all this property at one point.
yeah,
And then Chacoine, who developed
Oh,
Pine
okay.
Hill,
yeah.
he granted the easement. And I,
So that's where the mistake was, on the meets and
yeah,
bounds for the
yeah.
easement.
So he granted the easement, Bob Palmer, the surveyor,
Yeah,
who's no longer with us,
yeah.
he did the survey work.
So the easement was never intended to actually even be on the town land, just your point is that
Correct,
planning board didn't catch an oversight by the
correct,
surveyor.
correct,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
yeah. Well, I've owned it for quite a long time, and then.
Do you just need login access or something like that, or are you looking for like?
Well,
a-
no, I may build back there. What I wanted to do was, I'm looking to make that, I was gonna take my property and I was gonna push the line back.
Yeah,
Maybe leave 10 acres out there. I'm not looking to develop it or anything,
Okay.
A single house may go in there someday.
so you still get access from.
Well, yeah,
where your house is.
I can cross my land, I can't call it a separate, I couldn't build on it, put it that way, that lot as it is.
Oh, really?
Well, it has no frontage. It's landlocked right now, according to
Oh,
the survey.
you don't get like can't you do a shared driveway if you're just looking for one back there?
It'd be a long driveway.
Yeah, it would, huh? That's a lot closer coming from the other side. Yeah, that's really unfortunate, huh?
Yeah. You're looking at, going in half a mile or whatever,
Yeah, that is to the what we want to build in there, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
just because what the bearing, the recorded bearing doesn't bring you to where you want to be, it brings you to a point, and that's pretty, for what was intended to do, that's a pretty significant
Yeah,
oversight.
and I didn't give you guys a copy of the easement language, and in there, part of the language is the easement shall not be less than 50 feet in its entire
Well,
length.
internally conflicting. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, wouldn't that give you, you think like Andy said, talk to a real estate attorney, but I wonder if you still have some rights to the master lot, if it says
Right.
that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'll do. That's what I will do.
We can't even bring common sense to the table with what we know at this point.
Right.
If
Okay.
If you
No,
find
that's
out,
fair.
if
That's
you find
fair.
out something differently, we
I'll let you know.
need to know.
Okay.
We need to know.
Yeah.
So we'd ask you to
Okay.
let us know.
All right.
Our information came from a source that seemed an authority on these things, somebody who's pretty well versed with the type of documents and statutes that go along with allowing
Right.
the existence of easements, conservation easements in particular, so. Let us know if.
Okay,
if
yeah,
there's-
I'll let
if
you
there's
know either
something
way,
we're
you know.
missing.
Okay. Do you wanna keep that paperwork? Or-
Uh,
It's up to you, you can keep it.
Martha just needs one. She knows what you're talking
yeah,
about.
why don't you, I'll hold on to one, pass one over to Naomi, and you guys can decide whether you wanna hold or have them discarded or
Well,
collected.
I appreciate you listening to me tonight.
So those two are available, Mike,
Okay. Yeah, don't
and
stay-
another one over here.
Don't stay up too late.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Exactly, trying to get them home.
Yeah, all right, well, we got,
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good night.
good night. All right, we've got some minutes to look at. I've got some comments on the September 11th ones. So I'll just start into that. On line number 8, I'd like to just get in and keep in the habit of noting who the elected officers of the commission are. So after Mike Camacho, I'd like to indicate Mike is the secretary. And then I'm looking at the write-up down, starting on line 27, for those who, let me back up. Does anybody have recollection? Has anybody looked at these? Do we need a copy to proceed, or are you comfortable with my,
I have a separate, if somebody needs one.
okay.
I wasn't here, right?
He wasn't here.
Correct. Yep.
Somehow I printed the same one twice.
So if anybody wants to look at one in paper, we got marks to share. So I'm looking at the planning board discussion that starts on line 27. And I'm wondering if anybody remembers what we concluded from this discussion. As it reads now, T.A. Bolton presented the board with a conditional approval by the planning board from December 8th, 2022, per the subdivision regulations. The conditional approval can only stay for 6 months. The applicant came back after the 6 months had expired, and the applicant had to resubmit the application. Jock Belanger will be presenting to the planning board, and there are some notes made regarding the project, and he set the bounds. Chair Fulton said there's a set of wetland plans and stamps. The Conservation Commission reviewed the plans and the wetlands. Chair Fulton said that was for Thomas Corrado, 111 South Sugar Hill Road, tax map 403177.
I believe we said we had no comment on that. It had the correct stamps and stuff, and there was no comment.
I like that. That kind of confirms what my suspicion, what recollection was. So we want to end it with, at the end of 32, add in, the Conservation Commission had no comments for the planning board.
Before you go too much further down on line 18, it says seconded about LeMay.
Let's go with by.
As long as we're backing up, I was also present, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
Line 30 on that is Jacques Belanger, not Jock,
What's the spelling of that? J-A-C-Q-U-E-S.
Jacques.
Jacques. Thank you. And I'm jumping down into the DES section, and we want to change, it's here in a couple places, but on line 37, pestering forested wetlands to, I believe, palustrin, P-A-L-U-S-T-R-I-N-E. Does that sound like the right spelling to those who have run into that also?
Yeah, it is.
correct.
And I believe the petitioner's name there is Birch, B-U-R-C-H? Does that sound right to folks?
Yeah.
Up on line 34, Thomas Birch, B-U-R-C-H.
Should be Buxton School Road on line 35. Instead of
Oh, wow, what's that one? Yeah, it's changed Skook on line 35 to school. And then on 40, I want to insert dredgings between the and pile. Then it would read, Phillips said that they still have not answered what they will be doing with the dredgings pile. And down to line 44, another spot to change pestering at the very end to palestrin. Up on line 45, I think it must be something different than linear square feet. We have 371 square feet of intermittent stream impacting perhaps just 184 linear feet. But how do you have square feet of intermittent stream? So that doesn't make sense either.
Square feet of intermittent stream,
Yeah.
what's total impact?
So that would be of wetlands, right? Not, that would not read correctly as 300 square feet of intermittent stream. Do we have it's, square feet's an area. Streams are usually thought of as linear features.
Yeah, but not when you're doing a dredge and fill permit. You're looking at your amount of impact, so yeah, I mean, I don't get why they're both there, but if you're just saying we're impacting 371 square feet, that's, you know, it's intermittent stream, but that's,
371 square feet adjacent, or square feet involving, or square feet?
well, it's almost like there's 184 linear feet, and there was 371 square feet of wetland that was being
Well, then
impacted.
let's insert the word wetland in there somewhere, so we're not,
That's what you're trying to describe as the square feet of fill.
yeah, I don't even think of that as an intermittent stream. I think it was a,
Yeah, either it's jurisdictional wetland or it's not, whatever type it is.
let's just change intermittent stream to wetlands. And change 184 to linear feet, get rid of the square. So it should read 300 square feet of wetlands impacting 184 linear feet.
Getting the Wi-Fi in here, or you just working off your,
Not today,
yeah, me either.
so just data.
And let's see. Looking down on lines 52 and 53, it currently reads, the third notification is for Ryan Richardson of Colby Road, map 412, lot 155, unnamed wetlands and not site-specific permit for a shared driveway.
49, need to, Phillips.
Ah. Yes, change that to Phillips. So what should we do with the not site-specific permit? It's-
Yeah, I have no idea what that's trying to say.
That's the plan you have in front of you. That's the planning board plan that I thought you had talked about. couldn't remember names.
Yes, I did.
You'd already gotten a letter from DES.
All right.
They have a wetlands and non-site specific permit number 2023-00972 was approved on 8/21/24.
It literally says there on that letter, non-site specific permit.
Wetlands and non-site specific permit. It's just the notes I had, but Thomas Burgess said the same thing.
Yeah, the language is just, all right, so we can at least change,
Not to non.
now, is that language coming off the letters?
I can go find the letters I found my notes that I sent to Nick.
Oh, okay, all right.
And so did the wetlands one, the wetlands for NBAC did the same thing, wetlands and non-specific, and it gives a file number.
All right, I'll let go of it if we're good. Yeah, we'll just change it to non and so be it. All right, so then on line 55, let's take out ex officio liaison and just go with liaison Pratt. Same deal on 56, take out the ex officio before liaison. Down to line 60. I want to insert abatement between asbestos and demolition regarding the asbestos abatement and demolition contract. And then line 62. Continuing from 61. Reading, she has not seen the contractor come in for a building permit, I believe is what we were talking about.
Demo.
A what?
Demo,
Demo permit, okay. Change that to demolition permit. And then I'm looking for a little help on line 63. We just have a statement, there is a fee schedule to that the town would retain 5%. And that's the statement, there is a fee schedule to that the town would retain 5%.
in the fee schedule. In the contract, we retained 5% until it was done, until you guys looked at it. That was in the contract. So it wasn't,
So,
I should say there was a contract where the town will retain 5% in the contract.
so there's a fee schedule 2 in the town,
2 shouldn't be there.
yeah.
I don't think that should be there.
Let me see, per the contract.
So I want, a 5% retainer is language that I
Right, for the
think,
contract, the town would retain 5%.
there's a fee schedule and there is a 5% retainer required by the town. That's what I would suggest. Again, on 69, let's take out ex officio before liaison. Same deal on 75. And a little further explanation on line 72. Insert Banks Schmid Hay between the farmer, so it reads, let the Banks Schmid Hay farmer know that they'll need to have a lease. And 75, insert Pratt after liaison. Liaison Pratt said something. Anybody have anything else on those? Did we have a motion on the minutes of September 11th, 2024?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second that motion?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed or abstaining?
Abstaining.
All in, all right. We have verdict abstaining, the rest in favor. And then we've got the minutes of November 13th, last meeting. I wanted to include after line 45 or on line 45, the Conservation Commission will be notified when the date of a pre-acceptance walkover by town officials is determined. On to line 71. Change severance.
Stand another one.
Yes.
PC will be notified when a pre-acceptance meeting, what?
When the date of a pre-acceptance walkover, or pre-acceptance meeting by town officials is determined, when that date is determined, or when it is scheduled, something to that effect. On to 71. Continuing from 70, Mr. Nager stated the report details account for all work done to generate money from the town, for the town forest account, and noted the severance tax. I believe that should be timber tax.
And I'm trying to get into this, you're way ahead of me.
I think the point is we were mentioning that the timber tax also generates revenue for the town, and
The
even on a,
severance.
pardon?
Severance versus timber is what you said? Yeah, severance is when you cut the wood, that's another word for the timber tax. We'd have to look at state law and see which they officially call it, but it is actually severance tax.
Wow.
Isn't it yield?
Might be. This is probably like 3 different ways to describe.
Yield tax
Yeah.
is the timber tax.
Yeah.
Yield tax, timber tax, severance tax.
Yeah.
Okay, they all be the same.
Alphabet soup.
When you
All right,
sever
so
the
we'll,
tree.
we'll just leave it alone, yes, sever the tree. All right, we can just leave that, and, I was just gonna add a modifier on line 105, other business, and in parentheses, mentioned without discussion. Being power lines, budget, firewood, and the new town engineer. Those are just infos.
I don't know what, on line 107, no change op on default. If I say something different. No change to.
You're the one who wrote them.
I didn't review them. No change.
No change, semicolon, operate on default.
Oh, that's what I was going for, okay.
I think that's what we concluded.
Oh, Mike, you did all that? Thanks.
Indeed,
Good
thanks, I
job.
do. Appreciate you doing those. Anybody want to read into them further?
Not to modify, but I have a question about, the American Mountain Men guest. He had requested, permission to obtain a burn permit. Now, if there's snow on the ground, he wouldn't need a burn permit.
I think
Would-
they already did their event.
Oh, okay,
It
so,
was at 8, 9, 10.
okay.
It would have been this last weekend.
With a little bit of snow on the ground.
And he and the fire chief, I hooked them up after I got your minutes, so those two. I don't know if they did or didn't because of the weather.
My bigger question was, can anybody just go into town forest land and kindle a fire if there's snow on the ground? Do you need landowner permission to do that?
Usually when it's snow covered, you don't.
Right, so I'm just a curiosity question. Anybody could go out there and
I don't know.
On land of another, I think you couldn't kindle fire.
you'd still need permission from the landowner.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of those gray areas, I bet, you know, someone goes out there and builds a little
When
campfire,
it
nobody
becomes,
cares.
when it's
Yeah.
public property, it's.
I think it's public.
It's a
I
gigantic
mean, I think that
fire.
might be grayer than private,
Yeah,
Anyway, that was just a thought in my head.
right?
it
I mean,
wouldn't
would-
affect
would-
anything, that's for sure.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. It'd just be nice to know if there's a fire in the woods, that's all.
Yeah, no, like if you're out there hiking and decide to stop and like have a
Have a
little
little
warming
fire,
fire while
yeah.
you're having lunch, who cares?
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately
If there's snow on the
where,
ground, it
where
shouldn't be
we
a
would
problem.
land,
Yeah.
at least 9 out of 10 times.
I don't think too many people do that, though. I don't think we have to worry about it.
True. But it's a good question. All right. All right, do we have a motion on these?
Motion to accept as amended.
Second?
The November, what are they? November what?
13.
24 minutes.
Second?
I'll second it.
Further concerns? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any abstentions?
I do.
All right. So, all but Bert in favor, and Sherry abstaining. As we just finished minutes, Naomi, are we fully in place for coverage on this meeting's minutes? Thank you. Moving on to planning board items. Something been nagging me since, it looks like since the September meeting, when we saw that Wetlands Bureau had issued a permit for running that brook over at the Duck Pond subdivision into a culvert, into a long culvert, and having a pretty substantial fill for the road. I looked into it a little bit the other night, and it sure does look to me like it's asking for a whole lot of fill to be placed on the north side of the Ski Tow Road extension in an area covered by a conservation easement that we hold. So if you read our conservation easement, signed by the chair of the Conservation Commission and the chair of the Board of Selectmen, I do not think that is permitted. Temporary road disruption is permitted, but this is clearly not a temporary measure. It's a permanent measure to allow access over to that west side of that subdivision. I don't have the I don't have the resources in full plan size to be able to compare what was proposed. I don't know that we ever saw as a board, as a commission, the full set of proposed plans for the change from a bridge to essentially a causeway with the road running across it and a culvert. I think it would be negligent of us to just turn the other way when it very much looks like a action on a property under easement that is not permitted. So I guess I put it out there for thought, and I think if it's a will of this commission, we ought to at least let planning board folks know that there might be a concern there, such that we can at least next meeting look at full-size plans and do a better dive into just what is being proposed, and what the original proposal with the conservation easement that has been set and has been set for a long time now stipulates. And if my suspicion, based on my research, is verified, then I think we need to get to the property owner in some fashion to share this concern or share the findings. So others have, we went out, we walked the place, several of us did, and others have looked into it. We've had various conversations on it before. I think it's just something we need to do as a easement holder.
The set of plans that we had are not for the box culvert proposal? Or they? Because we looked at a full-size set of plans.
I think we did. I don't
Was that like back last summer sometime?
think they were presented to us by an applicant. And it would have been maybe even last spring, spring to summer.
I think June, July,
Yeah,
July-ish
yeah.
maybe, I don't know.
It was April, when we went out there.
What,
Yeah.
April?
Yeah, because it was in the hospital.
Yeah, we were gonna go and it snowed. We had to go a week later or so.
Right, right.
So, we understand is that the DES has already given a permit for this? And how would that happen if
It's unrelated.
it's unrelated?
Yeah, the DES will permit based on state statute, the law, the rule, the guidance. They don't look for, either town or private interest.
Yeah.
It's just, do they meet the requirements set up by those programs? So just because the state approves a piece of work doesn't mean it can go forward. It doesn't, state approval doesn't override a points where town approval is needed. So I don't know, it sounded to me like planning board has approved something. I haven't seen just what language that was. I was able to look at the minutes from one of the December meetings last year where the Board of Selectmen conceptually signed on to a change. I don't know what the selectmen viewed at that point. It sounds like it was presented as a sort of non-issue. And as the folks who are responsible for the conservation easements, I think it was unfortunate that it wasn't presented or discussed in a preliminary fashion with the easement holder before it was essentially green-lighted. I think at that point, what the applicant was probably looking for was some sort of town buy-in to know whether they should go through the effort with the state. But I don't know, I strongly suppose that regardless of what other town boards have done, the issue of infringing on an easement has standing forever. So it's not as though you must be quiet as an easement holder because somebody else has said, seems legitimate, go ahead. I don't think we had the full vetting on it. That would have been helpful. Thought, Steve?
Yeah, way over our heads. I think, you have an obligation to defend an easement, and that's part of the problem with the town being a conservation easement holder. We should never, ever do it. Never, because we don't have the wherewithal. Most of the land trusts now are charging a gigantic amount of money to defend against things like these. So they have a war chest ready to go. And we've bumped into a couple problems with easements, not just this one. And we are not really in good shape to defend these. So the problem is gonna be is, you're gonna need an attorney and you're gonna need to send a surveyor out there to figure out on the ground where the easement line is, and then you can't undo that easement. So we have to defend that easement. So Andy's right, and unfortunately, it's gonna be a colossal waste of money. Really unfortunate. So, I mean, I think what we need to do here is, again, we're gonna have to use the conservation account. We're gonna have to do another request for legal support and, see what they think about it, and then we're probably gonna have to pony up money to send a surveyor out there. Because the other thing we got really nailed on this is like as bad as it gets, right? So, we accepted a parcel without it being monumented, and this is like the second or third time this has
Happened.
bit us in the butt, really seriously. So it's a fiasco.
Right, if it were properly monumented, when we went out for site walk, we should have seen indications of where the boundary of the area under easement lied, right?
Right, so now you gotta defend something that you don't exactly know where it is. So I don't know if the town's,
And this one has a
Authorized.
massive amount of boundary to it, all sorts of,
so we wouldn't locate the whole boundary, because that's on that developer. But what you'd have to do is tie back to something to get out to that point on the ground, so the surveyor is reasonably sure where that easement line is in that impact area. I mean, we could end up finding out, this thing is like literally as bad as it gets. It's almost the worst easement we've got, because it also has portions of people's backyards with easements. It's ridiculous. So we're obligated as a town, because we signed on to that, to defend this thing. So, I mean, I would just motion that, we do the legal requests to the Board of Selectmen to have an attorney review the proposed change requested by the, is it NBAC still?
as far as I know.
NBAC, yeah.
NBAC are the successors to change the culvert type, or the wetland crossing type, and possible infringement on the conservation easement. And to designate, preliminary up to 10 grand out of conservation to cover that expense.
And Steve, in that motion, what would the $10,000 from the conservation fund go towards?
Legal expenses, because I don't think, but that wouldn't come out of the town's general budget, would it, for something like that?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, it's just, I mean, there's nothing to stop us from using conservation when we ask the selectmen for that. I mean, it seems like a prudent use of it to defend a conservation easement.
Not knowing with that, who accepted the easement?
We did,
Conservation?
but we got jammed up, so you wanna wait for a discussion on this, see if there's a second, we can talk about that some more.
That makes good sense. Steve, do we have a second on Steve's motion to petition the Board of Selectmen for legal support to evaluate whether the proposed NBAC causeway infringes on the conservation easement for the
Second it.
Duck Pond subdivision? Sherry seconds. Go ahead, Steve, in discussion.
So, I don't know about currently, Mark, it's your question, but, you know, kind of back in the day, the planning board created this, open space development. And so when you look at the planning regulations, like the contract, the developer got kind of favorable lot sizes, and somehow the town, as part of that process, was essentially forced to accept an easement. Like, a good open space development would be, the only one I've really seen was that one Craig, what's his name, did, is where like, the leftovers aren't crumbs, right? You know, so like I mean, you could do it like, so it's really favorable for conservation. You could have, you know, 20 solid acres that went to conservation easement and a square, you know, with not a lot of boundary, and it was worthwhile, and you got someone like PLC to take the easement, which he did, this other guy did. But when you got like.
In this case, the guy put the lots right up close to the
Boundary
entry road on the flat that had been a gravel pit,
Yeah.
and then put the uplands that rose behind it with maybe a couple houses that is kind of climbed, sort of, we're at the end there. Most of them are down below, but maybe a couple or a few up ahead, and then beyond them is a nice 20-acre square of open space under easement maintained by PLC.
So this was like, you know, basically a developer figured out like how they could maximize their profit, give us the crummiest ever.
Going back to Duck Pond, yeah.
Yeah, the Duck
Useless
Pond. Yep.
property.
You get so much boundary line. You got like backyards on people's private property that somehow counted towards the open space development, which is absurd, you know? So you're gonna buy 2 acres on a slope with like pucker brush growing in, and we expect you not to touch it.
Yeah.
Because it's on the easement. And that happened over at, what's that other one there, the,
Illinois.
Holly Hill.
Yeah, up on the hill.
You know, where you can only mow it once a year. It's like, yeah, just brutal.
Well, maybe you should go and have a talk with the planning board, because they're the ones that are allowing this. to
I think
happen.
it's too late. I think you gotta just, because they've, you know, they got the permit, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, so they don't do this again.
They've got the state permit. I don't know whether they have all the town requirements taken care of. We haven't interacted with planning board on this one since the original stuff. We haven't had any direct interaction with them on the proposed change.
So, you know, I think we should do this and then just email the planning board and say, hey, we want, you know, gonna, if you guys don't shut this down right now, we gotta pull an attorney in.
Yeah.
And again, it's like that other one. It's not whether we want to or not. You know, when we accept an easement, we are bound, sort of, like Steve said, beyond our capabilities really, but we are bound to
Enforce
exert
it.
to maintain it,
Yeah.
to enforce it. yeah.
Right.
So if we could, you know, then we can get the plans off to the attorney if the board of selectmen approve it and, you know, have them look at it and get an opinion. See if, you know, what you are thinking is correct. Because we're the fee owners, right? So anything that wasn't reserved or isn't in that original plan just wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember we already got into it once with them about, and that Laura looked at it, and the reserved rights for some of the piles of dirt and stuff were allowed even though it was on the easement, so they're already kind of abusing some of that easement land. it's within their rights, but it's, I don't think what anybody envisioned.
Yeah, it's subject to drainage easement, which covered a like 3 acre, 3 acre piece, which drainage easement, what does that mean? Could mean all sorts of things from infrastructure to just, we'll slope it the way we want to slope it to make the land drain better, or to our liking, so that, unfortunately, yeah, there was, there were, it was an easement facilitating a development. It wasn't an easement preserving,
Conservation land.
prime conservation land, although there are good attributes to some of it. And we even talked about some of what we designed or what we discussed with the developer and what was promised and connectivity and things like that. Well, what we thought maybe allowed some connectivity with the current proposal, it's not to be maintained. So, yeah, unfortunately, a hard lesson on something that was done long ago. It's not an ideal situation, and we didn't quite realize at that point, I think, what, it was probably your first year on the commission, Steve, when we did that? Pretty
Yeah,
close to it.
It was, absolutely.
I think it was my second or third, and
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether Pat or Tom was
yeah, they were there.
chair at that point.
Oh, Thomas probably chair. Yeah.
Probably just when Tom took over from Pat as chair.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's when you guys got the Woods property too. I came on and that was just getting
Yeah.
finalized. Yeah,
So and we're going back
crazy.
20-plus years now.
Time flies.
And this one, we just got to do what we knew, some of what we knew we were going to have to do, or what has become aware to us over the last while.
Oh, I whined about it back then. I was new though.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we've got a motion on the floor. We've had some discussion. Any further discussion on the motion? The motion being to do the formal request for for authority or authorization to contact legal to investigate whether there is a
Infringement on the easement.
planned infringement upon land under easement held by the town. Actually, yes, it's land owned by the town and easement held by the town, which right there and then is not ideal. So, all right, no further comments. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? We're all in favor.
Definitely, we need to communicate with planning board though and figure out where it stands and if we can get a copy of it.
Naomi, does planning board meet tomorrow?
Yeah, they got a full agenda, but
Right. I will email Craig tonight. Just a heads up. Steve?
Can we just, in the correspondence with the Board of Selectmen, can we just say, we thought it might be prudent if we needed to use conservation, but if it is budgeted to not use it, that's great.
Yep. Yeah, we are trying to remove that impediment from getting the support we need, but
Right,
um,
right.
it is the town's, it is for the town, we are of the town and for the town, so.
I'd say it's kind of upsetting to me, because I don't think the change should have even been thought about at all. There's nothing beneficial about it.
No, it is understandable, it's a financial argument, saying, hey, this is tough for us to do this amount of engineering and materials to build a substantial bridge over a substantial swale. And that case apparently, as best I can see from the minutes, was made, and it's unfortunate that really it was treated as it doesn't change anything. Just facilitating somebody's.
Shut it off. I
Yep.
keep shutting the phone off. It keeps coming.
All right, moving on to,
Warning.
Just a quick question. Do we monitor this easement in any way?
we have not,
Okay.
should we?
Well,
We can't find it.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite what, a
Step one.
third of the proposed, roughly a third, quarter to a third has been built?
Yeah.
And some of the, I believe some of the open space boundaries on the back of these places where folks are enjoying their place, their piece of ware.
You know, it's gonna be tough, like, this really good discussion and thinking about that stuff. Like, we went on a tear, blazing, getting all the town properties blazed, or all the major ones, just so you could find it, right? So you know where it's at. And the problem, like, with this thing is gonna be, so we have fee own a portion of it, and then we got the horror show in people's backyards. So would we even want to monitor
Right, yeah,
that?
yeah.
And then, if we blaze that thing up, we're gonna get a lot of whining about, like, all these, remember the yellow trees, Naomi? Remember that discussion years ago? It was funny as heck, like, why yellow? Some people like yellow.
Yeah. I find it jarring. It's too alarming. You know, I've had my walks out here and I don't know why it needs to change. So,
Yeah, it seems like mostly the state's running blue, a lot of private runs red, and municipal's running yellow.
Yep.
Army Corps is blue.
Yeah, Corps got
Yeah.
blue. We do blue on the property I manage.
Do we have all the monuments in down on Eastman Hill?
Yeah,
They're all done,
we had to get some located, but yeah, a little bit of a line
On
was
where?
located on the Eastman
on
property.
top of Eastman Hill.
Yeah, yeah. It's all blazed up
Portland.
monument.
Portland.
No, Cortland's not done yet.
No,
No, that's what I'm talking about.
oh no, I thought you meant Eastman property. No, no, Cortland. No, Naomi was
Eastman
dealing with
Hill.
that.
Right. That's what it was. And
So that was the name of that? I never heard anybody refer to it as that.
Cortland Ave.
No, but what was
On
it?
top
when
of
we-
Eastman Hill.
Yeah, what was it when we looked at it? When we were-
That's
Mm,
where
fine.
that's where Eastman's lived. They burnt the house down, but it's set right there
Yeah, I
where
know,
the
these are the
street
tractor
went in.
trailers out
In the
there.
older.
their little house
Across the
was
street.
the one,
It was a big good-sized farmhouse. They burnt it.
Yeah,
the little house was
The little
Mildred.
house was Mildred, but her parents lived about where that road goes in. There was a
Off.
good-sized farmhouse.
yeah, wasn't it the
The
guy
barn
with the
was
tractor
across the
trailers?
street.
Used to have tractor trailers out there?
No,
Yes.
Yeah,
Buddy Williams.
yeah, he had tractor trailers out there, yeah, yeah.
no, Williams lived beyond that.
Yeah, I think they were using it though, I swear they're.
Maybe, I
yeah.
don't know.
We're just going back 20-something years.
So the short of it is, not yet,
Not yet. That's what I
but
thought.
the town has not accepted the road. It's getting close. I think we heard last month that they did final paving.
They did.
But we are hopefully, and that was one of the changes I wanted to the minutes to reflect what we discussed, which was, we'll hopefully find out when there's a site walk or an acceptance walk or something to that effect planned, so that we can,
Not accept it until they put the monuments in.
make that point with the town engineer and say, that's a condition of this, the town engineer has a checklist, don't check it off if we can't find them, if we don't see them. So, that's on that, the new Cortland Road in the Orchard subdivision. And that one came in after Duck Pond, a little bit more sensible, but, another story altogether. All right, enough of that. Naomi presented some mail items. We've got, something just showed up in the box here the other day, probably this week, which is a standard dredge and fill wetlands permit application for, how does it start with that? The applicant being the New Hampshire Department of Transportation. Proposed project's a state-funded bridge maintenance project, 114 over Otterbrook, approximately 530 feet east of Gould Road. the bridge is on the red list.
So the crossing by Langtots?
No, and just
The
beyond it.
Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's where they're always fishing.
Yes, gotcha, the low area
Yeah.
that floods there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where the telephone poles fell down.
And, yeah, they did that last year, didn't
Yeah,
they? That was
exactly.
fun.
Yeah.
Bing, 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 all right. So anyways, they're working on that. Does anybody want to look at this, or, this has been, it's been a long lead item, and it doesn't even look like a bridge, so.
We got the notice last year about the fact of they're putting in a flat bottom for the turtles and,
Something, yeah. Might have been 2 years ago now.
Yeah, yeah.
There was something.
Yeah. Yeah, it came up quite a while ago.
yeah.
All right. So they are doing what they need to do what they need to do. So we note without, essentially, note without comment that DOT is rebuilding the Otter Brook crossing on 114. All right, that one. Jumping back on the other, just above on planning board items. I'm not sure whether we've looked at this one or not. We have a plan to subdivide lot 412, map 412, lot 155 into 2 residential lots served by private wells and on-site septic. This is off Colby. We saw,
That the one they need the driveway permit for, shared driveway?
shared driveway, so I'm not sure whether it's just a new,
Lots of
lot 155 would be 21.37 acres, 15501, 16.65 acres.
There's a wetland impact on that driveway.
Wetland impact up by Colby Road, and another one where the property flares out and widens. It does look like avoidance to the extent feasible. We've got a wetland certification
I didn't see one.
without a stamp. On that page. Got detail, we've got 50-foot building setback noted.
Entrances, this is the one in the middle on the right. We logged it a couple of years ago.
Oh, that long.
With that, that's where it is.
Showing a 25-foot buffer, but I don't see it spelled out anywhere. In the notes, wetland buffer, 25-foot buffer of native vegetation. No ground disturbance except planting, so it's flagged out in the notes. And the surveying, or looks like the wetland, depiction covers a whole lot, so that's really good. lot of wetlands in there. We've got the survey stamp. I guess we could note to the planning board that final plan should include the stamp of the wetland certifying scientist, number 256. Anybody want to look these over? Anybody have any additional thoughts on them? All right. Anybody, is everybody okay with just my noting that we ought to get the stamp to make it all legit? So I will check the sign-off box, yes. Add my signatures to it. My, what do you call those, initials. All right, I can go back, touch base on that one, nothing needed. Naomi passed back, just in the things that came out of the mailbox, the permit to trap for Glenn Dubois, and Selectmen signed the permit to trap, signed the vehicle permission, and noted that we never signed the terms page. And the last few years, we have not signed the terms page. Does anybody feel we should or would like to sign the terms page? Back in the day, Glenn set this up as a, hey, we could just have all you conservation commissioners sign on to it. And then we backed off and said, well, one signature is good for all if we motion it all. And then we backed off a little bit and said, we don't need to sign this, essentially, so we haven't. Anybody have thoughts or concerns on that? Terms being the same as they've been for decades
You should at
now.
least initial off as a chairperson that you agree that those are the terms that we agree with.
I do.
And I would suggest that maybe the chairman needs to sign it, we don't all need to sign it.
All right, so Mark has made a motion for the chair to sign the page here. Let's see. Steve has seconded. Any other comments on this item? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're all in favor.
Was that everybody or Andy abstaining?
All in favor? I'm authorizing myself.
Okay. That's what I was asking.
All right, here we are at 8:19. Got the preamble done now to the main event. Land management, we have one response to our request for proposals to our town forestry services.
Can you remind me when those were due by?
Today at close of business here?
That's right.
Like 5 o'clock or?
And what one came back, you just said?
Meadows End Consulting Company.
All right.
Makes that easy.
It is a very substantial package. We asked for and received a substantial backing of not only, why this party is interested, but what they bring to the table.
I'm gonna suggest we just pass around this portion of it. Do it, Naomi, did you make copies for everybody just for the proposal itself? Huh?
I'll even pull the staple
Oh,
out so that
okay.
we can handle the six pages. Take it out of my tab. Yes.
You need this for your, we're gonna put upstairs.
No, I would pitch it unless there's something in,
No, it's like 12 copies in the building.
that's probably enough. Yeah. So we want to have a look at this and do as much evaluation as needed now and come up with a plan forward for next steps on it.
We're waiting for that. We're just gonna go with the Poor Farm.
Pardon?
Any more word on the Poor Farm?
Yeah.
While we're waiting.
That we can, although
Oh, okay.
Naomi also does take some notes, so why don't we just
Yep.
hold for now?
Well, she's doing that, I guess, yeah, like you said, she's taking notes. Should just read into the record what these are, just so nobody's wandering, that's,
Yep.
all right, wait for her.
All right, so for the record from,
Oh, you wanna wait for her? Just take notes.
well, it's all right here. So. The a package, the proposal package from Meadows End Consulting includes resumes for Jeremy, for Laura, for Matthias. It includes a sample New Hampshire Municipal Timber Harvest prospectus and contracts for towns of Grantham, Newport, Sunapee, and Swansea. It includes an example forest management plan for a town forest, this one being Mount Caesar Forest in Swansea. It includes another example for Ledge Pond in Sunapee, a forest management plan. It includes another one for Gilman Pond Forest in Unity. And yet another one for Chase Brook Forest in Henniker. So those are some pretty solid examples suggesting that this outfit does municipal work and is fairly accomplished with doing such. Then we also have a master plan overview for Sullivan County ownership. Master plan for 2,170 acres of forest under ownership.
That's county-owned?
That's what it looks like, yeah. Sullivan County ownership, interestingly, is entirely located within Unity. So that's supporting documentation, and I would gladly pass this around to folks to thumb through it, look at it, feel its heft, if interested.
I'll take a peek. I mean, I know
Yeah.
their management plans. We have a few we can review on our website.
Right.
So for your information, Naomi, I just listed verbally everything that was in that stack of stuff that you printed out for us. So I just spoke that into the record, what's in that inch-thick pile of paper. Thank you. Thank you for preparing these for us.
Just keep the original with it.
Thanks, Naomi.
That's the clip along. The guy's got the original.
This one?
No, there's a binder.
Oh, that's the original.
Right here. Yep. Jeremy graduated cum laude. How about that?
Not surprising.
Inspirational. He's a T-schooler, too. He's a T-schooler.
Yep.
All right, December 9th, 2024, proposal for Ware Town Forester. I'm gonna read the cover letter. Dear Town of Ware Conservation Commission, we at Meadows Inn Consulting Company are pleased to present our proposal for the Ware Town Forester. Enclosed, please find a responsive accounting of request for proposal. We believe our experience, quality of services, ethics, and price point makes Meadows Inn Consulting Company the ideal value-based candidate. Notable qualifications and qualities we bring to the table include experience in managing municipal lands for 13 towns in New Hampshire. We also manage the Sullivan County lands in addition to over 100,000 acres of privately owned land, associations, and land trusts throughout New Hampshire and Vermont. Also noteworthy is that we manage lands of 2 of the recognized New Hampshire Tree Farmer of the Year over the past 10 years. The lead forester, Jeremy Turner, was a 2023 recipient of the Society of American Foresters Austin Carey Award in recognition of outstanding achievement as a practicing forest manager. Jeremy was also on the New Hampshire Timberland Owners Association Board of Directors for 8 years from 2012 through 2020. Another of our foresters that would be involved in managing the town's land is Matthias Nevins, who is the current vice chair-elect of Granite State Division of Society of American Foresters. Laura French brings almost 30 years of GIS mapping experience and has authored around 40 municipal forest management plans over her career. We stand by our mission to demonstrate leadership in the practice of sustainable forestry guided by a land stewardship ethic which fosters the ecological, historical, and social legacy of the land. This illustrates our commitment to not just practicing good forestry, but forestry that is uniquely suited to managing public lands. We believe one of the most effective ways to keep forests healthy is to nurture the connection between people and the land. People protect what they value, and they value what they are connected to. Our working partnership with the town of Ware over the past 16 years has been an honor and a privilege. It is worth noting we are intimately familiar with all the town forests, their makeup, and management history. We also have a deep understanding of the goals and management objectives of the town. At the same time, we see this as an opportunity to reevaluate and review this working relationship with a fresh start. We are confident that choosing to continue to work with MCC will provide the town the highest efficiencies and greatest positive outcomes. Signed, Jeremy Turner, licensed forester number 318.
I would say that Austin Carey Award was a huge deal too, from his, his peers in the industry.
So included are, as listed on the letter, our proposal for Ware Town Forester Services cost proposal with supporting documents including resumes for 3 foresters, 4 sample municipal timber sale prospectuses and contracts, and 5 municipal forest management plans. Moving on, we have a proposal including number one, an overview, number two, Meadows End Consulting Company background, number three, Meadows End Consulting Company management services, 3.1, development of a forest management plan, 3.2, forest management plan contents, 3.3, timber sale management services, 4, other management services, 4.1, consultation on timber tax and current use, 4.2, reviewing and updating the town's forest management objectives, 4.3, strategies for on-the-ground implementation of forest management in conformance with the town's objectives, 4.4, quarterly presentations and annual reports, 4.5, discussions and consideration of timber market conditions, expected ancillary management expenses such as road upgrades and maintenance, boundary line identification, etc. 5.0, submission requirements. 5.1, New Hampshire Forester licenses for Jeremy, Laura, and Matthias. 5.2, proof of insurance coverage as required. 5.3, references as required, including Henniker, Sunapee, and Swansea, Grantham, Hancock, Newport, and Sullivan County. 5.4, at least 3 examples of municipal forest management plans, they being Swansea, Henniker, Sunapee, Newport, Sullivan. 5.5, at least 3 examples of timber harvest prospectuses and contracts. We have 4, Grantham, Newport, Sunapee, and Swansea. 5.6, 6, list of resources and abilities, such as New Hampshire licensed professional foresters, extensive ARC Pro GIS experience, American Tree Farm inspectors, certified TSP, I'm not sure what TSP refers to in this context, in-house bookkeeping and accounting for timber sales, extensive timber sale experience, extensive forest management planning experience, extensive public outreach and education experience. 5.7, description of experience designing and managing recreational trail construction, mentioning work for the town of Sunapee, for New Hampshire Audubon, for Sullivan County, and for the town of Ware. 5.8, list of recognition, awards, and certifications, including those for Jeremy, Laura, and Matthias. 5.9, description of any adverse forestry-related enforcement actions, none being the response. And then we have the last page of the proposal being the town forester cost proposal, or cost proposal for forester services. Roman numeral 1, we have licensed professional forester services proposed at $75 an hour. Forest technician services proposed at $35 an hour. GIS analyst services proposed at $90 an hour. Roman numeral 2, forest harvest project management to be billed as follows: for project preparation as described in section 1, Roman numeral 2, lowercase a, logs at $5, MBF pulp or chipwood at $1 per ton, cordwood at $2 per ton.
Per cord.
I'm sorry, per cord for the cordwood, thank you. Alternate billing method with the comment, if project is a pre-commercial cost or marginally profitable for the town, an hourly or per acre proposal can be considered, such as was done for Toby Hill at some point in the past. Lowercase b under forest harvest, project management billing, project administration, as described in section 1, Roman numeral 2, lowercase b, stumpage, gross stumpage at 20%. If proposing an alternate billing method under that, again, mentioning what was mentioned before of pre-commercial cost or marginally profitable work, considering an hourly or per acre proposal. From MCC of New London with a phone number and an email and an authorized signature.
Do we have a copy of with the proposal that went out?
The request for proposal?
What?
The request for proposal?
Yeah.
I do not.
I got it on email, but.
I've got a,
Yeah, I can look.
maybe I do. Let me go for that.
It's not on the website.
It's not on the website.
It
In
was,
the front page of the website. Under news,
the word is the
click on it.
RFP should be on the front of the conservation website.
It's there and I didn't see it.
All right, I have something approximating it with all sorts of scribble on it. I will note, just in discussion here, and if anybody else has stuff to say, please get my attention, that the general services agreement we entered into last December, just for reference point, included licensed professional forester hourly rate of 75, so what's proposed is unchanged. Forest technician at 30, and it is currently in the proposal at 35. And in that, we did not have a GIS analyst flagged.
Mark, did you need a copy?
She has one here that's got what I'm looking for.
And in that, we also had the same logs at $5 per MBF, pulp and chip at $1 per ton. We didn't ask for cordwood in that one, so we had also the 20% gross stumpage unchanged from what we did,
So
what we were finishing up from this year's contract.
quote here for our expenses is based on our numeral 1, numeral 2, and then, correct?
1, 2A and 1, 2.
Is project administration that's described in 1, 2B. And it's, I just want to make sure that we got the question we had about the bid showing and stuff
Yeah.
is included in that 20%.
Yeah, it is now, because that's why
Yeah.
we pushed it out.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean,
okay. We're
Yeah.
good.
clearly, this is a proposal, it's not
Right.
the contract, so you gotta
Right.
keep reminding ourselves that. But, yes, it's proposing project administration as described in section number 1, Roman numeral number 2, lowercase b, from the RFP Forest Harvest Project Administration. And somebody, maybe Zuzu, you could just read what that B,
Yep. Forest Harvest Project Administration consists of project showing, bid preparation, opening, award analysis, reference checks, and notice preparation, and preparation of contracts between the town and the logging contractor selected by the town, as well as project supervision and project accounting.
inclusive in that 20%
We're good.
stumpage.
Yeah, remember we changed that in the last meeting?
Just,
before we
I
set
just
it
want to
up?
make sure the reference here was referencing what we had there.
Thanks for making that point, Mark, yeah. So we're open for comments, continuing discussion, thoughts?
I'm gonna make a motion to award the contract to Medicine Consulting Company based on the proposal being fully compliant with our request for proposal and their history of good forestry work for the town.
I'll second that. Thank you, Steve. I would just comment that I don't think we don't have a contract in front of us, so it might be,
Premature.
I think the,
right, we can't award the contract until we have a contract, so.
well, so we're, all we need.
So I'm splitting hairs here, but,
So as soon as Naomi, who's ever actually drafting the final version of the contract, we can award it, because this is, we can just say you can sign it. If you want to modify it, I mean, it's just,
so,
It's a February 1st.
so that, what you're proposing is award a contract based on this proposal?
yes. What else were we trying to do?
Well, no, it's just the semantics of steps versus leaps, you know.
Yeah, I don't think there's any more to really think about. Because really, this thing is more, we've had this discussion a million times, this thing is more like an agreement,
Right.
whereas really the individual.
Even the
It's the individual
contract
FSAs
that
is
we are
what the,
recommending to be signed
yeah,
is only one step to work completion, and
it's a framework of what we're gonna work under.
Exactly, for the next 5
5
years.
years.
Right. So do we go to the new attorney now? And, because we had like this draft from Laura,
Yeah, new attorney will have to do it.
write the actual contract on.
no, I think the
That
next
was the
step is to
question I
go
had.
to the
Do we have
selectmen.
Do we have an actual finalized?
We go to the selectmen with the recommendation that a contract be awarded to MCC.
Right, but the framework from the contract was the one Laura had, and that's what we used for the request for proposal. Remember that? She grabbed it from some other town, and that's,
Yeah. We adjusted it.
right.
So I guess your question is, who do we have write the contract? Who's gonna write the contract?
Right, so I mean, I think we take that existing draft that Laura already gave us, it's in the email somewhere, and just
And forward.
We can just,
finalize it and, yeah, run with it.
Forward it to the attorney.
Please, Naomi, that'd be awesome. Come on up to podium.
So, if you remember right, your plan was, not knowing how many you got, you were gonna open them tonight.
Yeah.
You were gonna make a decision in January, because it didn't start till February.
well,
So you have plenty of time to, typically what we did with the RFP for engineering is we awarded the bid. We create a contract, then the contract gets reviewed by council and then comes back for signature.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, we have the means of doing it here. I mean, typically, I did the selectmen's ones and sent it over for review, and that was it. I did your asbestos one the same way, for
So-
Barton.
So don't we
We
just,
award the bid.
yeah.
So you
however we want.
award the
So the
bid and then
contract is
takes the
award
next
the bid.
step and.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously don't need a month to review it.
No, you don't, but you didn't know that when you laid out the plan.
Right.
Because you didn't know if you were gonna have 12 people apply.
Right.
And then you were gonna have this matrix, remember that discussion?
Yeah, exactly, but fortunately, we don't have to do that now. So, let's roll. We've had a bumpy year, it's just,
I think you put it out to start February 1st.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
of 25.
All right. Steve made motion, and we had,
Mark, second.
did I even write any notes with this
Just
one?
change it to award the bid.
Okay. Second, your modification.
so what I'm hearing is
So the second came from
Me.
Mark, right?
Naomi, you can turn this RFP into a contract?
Yeah, based on what we've done
Yeah.
before.
Okay,
And then still look, the attorney will look at it,
Yeah.
but we don't have to them draft it and then spend the extra hours doing it.
Sounds like we already had it framed though, Steve.
I've got some of the framework, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We use the same kind of framework for all of them, It's already been approved once, so I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel.
All right, we've got a motion to recognize that One Response has provided everything we requested, and we are looking forward to moving forward with proposal acceptance and contract. Any further discussion on that issue? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so that's all in favor. And question for you, Dave, if you can. Do you think some form of presentation to the Board of Selectmen would be in order? Or do you think this is something that folks can look at well, I guess I'm backing up. Is there value to conservation and selectmen discussing this in public for the record at some point, given everything else that's going on? And given the background of challenges we've had to get to this point?
There's only one contract to award. I don't think it's gonna have a huge value to get together at this point. The, your acceptance, I think, is good enough, and I'll relay that to the board.
Would a formal recommendation to the board be helpful?
Well, you've made a motion to accept, so I will take that and make mention of it in our, well, we're gonna be covering budget in the next meeting, so either the next meeting or the meeting after, I will make mention of it.
Good.
Yeah, remember during that last meeting we had, they were comfortable with us, essentially awarding
Yeah.
it, so. Or making the decision to award, however you
Right.
want to frame it.
I want to be explicit on how we're moving forward, that we are moving forward together. Maybe to a second question to that same point, who do we anticipate, who do we want to have sign this contract on behalf of the town? Eventually, when we have it ready to go. Is that something we want the selectmen to sign, or do we want to sign, or do we want to both sign? Something to think about. We don't need to answer that right now, but
A question comes in is, how is he paid? Most of it comes out of conservation funds and forestry funds.
Yeah, either account, so they're agents who expend on forestry, we're agents to expend on conservation.
so I would
You
think,
put two sets of signatures.
I think unless there's some reason that legal says is better not to, it would be our first guess would be we both sign.
Sounds good.
Great.
I'd love to know how long that took us, how much time.
Feels like a relief.
They get 5 years
I
to
didn't know
build the
I could feel
matrix.
it.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have to have a working session to come up with the matrix.
I'm glad we
so-
didn't already do that. and
Right,
wasted
yes,
our
yeah,
time.
yeah.
All right, Steve, could you update us with the Poor Farm boundary issue?
Yeah, so I mean, we started over with a new attorney and went ahead and forwarded the reports. I had like a little bit of minor correspondence from way back. I think that started out with Cogniano. Maybe he might have emailed the conservation account, and I responded. So we knew just basically what the real basic issue was. And just going back and forth with the attorney, did want to run the idea by everybody and probably motion of, I think we should just let the attorney like correspond directly and, with that, the successor, rather than,
Third party getting involved, yeah.
yeah, just all the time lag of waiting for a meeting. So he clearly knows what the game plan is, try to get a boundary line agreement, and if they don't want to do that, then you gotta bring them to court. But, and, there's been a little back and forth. He just asked, about, how much acreage is involved. So this guy doesn't strike me as like totally like a land attorney necessarily, but I don't know. You know, because we had some back and forth about whether or not the tax map look accurate, which it does, but it really has no relevance or very little. Like, there's an order of precedence with deeds, and, you know, monuments is like number one, and the other stuff kind of falls way down the list. So, yeah, we're not gonna know how much acreage is involved. There's no real way to, you know, unless you send a survey out there to try to figure out what the guy's talking about in his email, you know, that's now deceased. So, yeah, I mean, my suggestion would be that we, you know, I'd like to make a motion, we authorize Attorney Whitley to directly correspond with the Cognianos on our behalf.
Second the motion.
Any further thoughts on the issue, the motion? There being none,
Best way to handle it.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all in favor.
So, I mean, the further discussion is, you know, let's see what happens. The ideal situation is we have a boundary line agreement. It's unfortunate if we're gonna start spending money on it, but kinda, you know, Ron Clamar is really good. Bob Todd was good. It's unfortunate the Todd survey was never,
Recorded.
Right.
recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the research we had done a few years ago,
Yeah, that's Ron Clamar's.
yeah, that pretty well laid out where it is.
Yep.
Is not,
Yep.
so,
They would just all end up in court and we'd end up paying for all that.
all right,
You know, Klamarzik and everybody
Yeah.
else, you know. It's time and money, right?
yep.
Yeah.
From the professionals and the attorneys.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah, I mean, you don't wanna do that.
Nope.
But we will.
And the bottom line really is to have the deeded record reflect our proper ownership. Is it otherwise?
Well, I think right now, you know, Ron put together the case that the deeded record does reflect our ownership, but you have someone who's making a claim that they own it, and there's an adverse survey that we feel is incorrect that we're now aware of.
I guess what I'm wondering is could the abutter owning, the folks owning the abutting property say, thanks for looking into it, we're satisfied, we make no such intention?
Yeah,
That's
Just
a boundary line
verbally?
agreement, no. No. Because we're aware of, you know, a registered survey that's incorrect now. We don't, you know, because that would just come up again
All
50
right,
years
so,
later.
so
Yeah.
it does go back to, we need the registry of deeds, that's the official place for property ownership to reflect, better reflect what we know, what we found out.
Yes, I mean, a boundary line agreement is gonna, you know, clearly state that we own that, you know, that survey is incorrect and more or less.
So just saying never mind is not sufficient at this point.
I think I'm gonna legally say never mind, and this thing's not accurate, yeah. Yeah, so they've got a problem with you know, it's weird though, all these years, like the tax map's still, not that it matters, but the tax map has kind of the right shape, you know?
Yeah.
Remember the abandoned property in the middle too, in Ron's report, like?
yeah.
Yeah,
That was an interesting, report they had.
yeah, it's pretty
Well
cool.
done, yeah.
Yeah, that's neat stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to go back and put that all together.
Yeah, and none of those thoughts are all that long ago. They're-
Good stuff.
All right, all set with that issue, that item?
Yeah.
There's one trail-related item that I picked out of our commission email from the past month, is that an abutter to the Eastman Conservation Area Town Forest asked about, you know, that simplest questions. Is it okay if we go out there and walk around? And just a reminder, we need to, you know, keep letting folks know that that is expected, that's welcomed, and Steve made a good point that we don't want folks, you know, hacking trails and cutting stuff on their own. But if they have some proposal to create access, talk to us about it. So that was a good inquiry, and I appreciate Steve's handling of it. Anything else with trails for now?
We were talking about trying to get out to Barden, but I don't know that, like, that's probably gonna be a sheet of ice after this, so maybe push that off till next meeting and try to pick a time and see how the conditions are, or, you know, if we have a big snowpack, then maybe push it off to spring.
Right.
Don't end up like laying something out that ends up being in inappropriate soils.
Yep. And I can verify that there are times that snow's been packing in there a little bit where it's been bare down in South Ware. So it's interesting that we have a big enough town that ground conditions can vary significantly from south to north.
Yeah, that parking can be pretty rough there too.
Yeah. And we don't have Ray with us to speak to other items. We'll try to catch up with him next month with that. If he's had a chance to look at that well. Anything else, trails? We good to jump down to other business? Anything else, land management? All right. We have an annual ritual that we need to consider. I don't know that we're under deadline for it this month, but we are. We should be. So we need,
We have post-public hearing for January 20th for warrant and budget, so. Is it your traditional article?
yes. Yeah, I mean, that,
What's your dollar amount?
we haven't discussed it. So here we are. So the point is to continue to use town forest account monies. We have to get the town body to approve an allowance from that account. So we've got to get approval of the town and vote. So we have to put a warrant article forward if we wish to tap into the town forest account.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up last year's. I think it's gonna be the same.
What was it, 25?
20,
Okay.
oh, it might have
Did it
crept it
go
up to 25.
I thought it was 25,000.
Yeah, I thought
Interesting,
so.
though, in the notes that Steve pulled up from Beth, we haven't been regularly anywhere near 25
Right.
in
Other than
expenditure, so.
usage.
Yeah, in
Usage
in
on it.
usage of that allowance, yeah.
So this next year could be a big year, cause we're catching
Catching up,
up
yeah.
on plans, cause we put that,
Yep.
What do we typically use?
20, we might have done 25 last year.
I mean, so the warrant article that we should just probably do again is, show the town raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to allow Conservation Commission to secure contracted services with a licensed forester, forestry service, including planned updates, harvest layout, harvest management, forest inventory, trail maintenance, and development, invasive species control, and other related services, and to allow the Conservation Commission to contract or purchase materials or service for maintenance and upkeep of town forest, and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of that sum from the town forest account. So, yeah, just run with the exact same article.
Was that last year's article?
Yeah,
For 25, you're gonna go in?
yeah.
What was the number last year?
Article 23.
No, okay, but 25,000.
Yeah.
25.
That's all we really need to do this year.
And the thing we've done some years, but not every year, is also consider a allowance for acquisition.
Yeah, I'd let that account build up a little bit right now.
I tend to agree, but we're not one voice, we are,
No, that's just a thought, though.
Yeah.
I'll have to throw it out there.
I don't see a need for it right now.
I think it's better to we have nothing in the works.
You're right.
It's fine to be plain and blunt about that, and, we try to be able to move quickly if an opportunity arises, but not that quickly. So, who knows what 2025 will bring for opportunity, so we'll see. Otherwise, keep the powder dry.
So I'll make a motion to request of the Board of Selectmen to put the same warrant article as last year for 25,000 from the town forest account, and that was 2024 article, we say 23?
23.
Yeah, 23. So exact same language.
I'll second.
All right, so we got Steve's motion, Mike's second. Any other thoughts on that one? Looking around, seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All in favor. And the next one is yours, Steve, regarding,
Naomi, can you open that email? Because my phone, for whatever reason, that attached PDF quote won't open.
regarding getting current with our abilities, software and hardware for GIS, Geographic Information System mapping and evaluating information in the spatial dimension. Did we get a second set of numbers for what might be involved on a laptop that would handle the rigors of some GIS work? Is that
Yeah,
what
that's
you're
what
trying
I'm
to
trying to
find?
follow up. Well, I can't, it won't
I know
open.
we had an initial
Yeah, they missed the,
email on it and it didn't necessarily cover what's,
I think they responded back.
I don't think they did.
Oh, they never did?
Well, he replied to you and said, you replied to him and said if the laptop meets a required configuration from ArcPro, then I'm all set. We also want MS Office and an external hard drive, and that's where
Oh, I never got the price back.
all right, so it sounds like a to be determined next month.
Can you ping him, Naomi, and just say, what?
Yeah, I don't see where he replied back after the first one, when you said it was the right one.
Hey, do we have any cloud services yet? I know I asked you a while ago.
Any what?
Cloud.
I don't like the cloud, but that's okay. No, we don't use the cloud, I don't think.
Cause like with that GIS data,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we've ever talked about the cloud.
well, we talked about like some kind of storage for like electronic files.
Yeah,
that kind of-
that's the last one I had from you, though. He didn't reply back to your question.
Do you wanna ping him or? Thanks. Yeah, cause we also wanted an external
Yeah.
hard drive. So I'd just say punt, cause it looks
Yeah.
like, we gotta decide, I don't know, Zuzu, you got probably more experience with Pro than me, right? Do we want the professional or just the creator? There's a huge price difference in the two.
Imagine I've only used professional, so I don't know what, I don't know that we'll be doing a ton with it. So
Right.
my instinct would be creator is fine, but I really have no idea what the difference is.
I think we also need to-
Yeah,
I think we can ask
Some maps here and there, and
Esri about what they can do for a municipality too.
that's a good question.
Because it's been a while, but I used to talk with a salesman there, and there is some sensitivity to, government versus education versus
Private sector.
commercial usage of the software. So we might find something in talking with somebody that we wouldn't necessarily find listed on the price sheet.
I wonder if this is,
Is the cloud a subscription? It is?
probably.
Yeah, cloud
Really?
is
Companies,
is
yeah,
storage
annual,
Storage,
yeah.
really,
on the cloud, so
Yeah.
that's, yeah, it's a,
has different levels.
it's
Yeah, like Apple has a cloud, and you pay them so much a month.
a month, yep.
Yeah.
Microsoft does.
They all, there's a bunch
They
of
all
them.
have a,
Yeah, I just don't know if we already,
Is it, you wanna question that too, or no?
no, not right now. I just wonder if the town has a cloud.
Storage.
Yeah,
I don't think we do, we're two servers.
someday,
So it's still server-based, yeah.
yeah, servers can.
Most of the software is going to the cloud. Is this an ongoing program, or would that be the cloud?
No, this will get loaded, so I think we'll be asking for a standalone license.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not gonna go back to a server. And I don't know if they've gone to like, before you used to buy like whatever version.
Yep.
And then you had like a annual maintenance fee,
Yep.
which we dropped off of. I don't know if this is more like a subscription now, like everybody's trying to do.
Most everybody is.
Yeah.
Probably.
So Andy, you wanna
Cloud.
ping them? You still have the,
It's buried pretty deep.
Yeah, they have software as a service, so it'd be online, ArcGIS online, but they also have self-hosted, which sounds to me like that would be
yeah,
on your,
I would propose, if Zuzu, you're willing to take lead on this, ask the questions, and
Sure.
if there's something where they need to, talk with anybody else, I'm glad to talk to you about it, or talk to, if you find, well, they might consider it, but they want to talk to somebody with the town who's of some position, I'm glad to be that backup.
sure.
I think we're gonna end up looking for pro on the computer.
Am I gonna talk to Doug?
Yeah, you're
Two
doing the
separate
computer,
issues.
Yeah, software, hardware. You're the hardware person.
They're still Earth Science Research Institute, right, Zuzu?
Yeah, Esri, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got pro on my work computer because it got quarantined. Because of my, I don't know, it's a long story, it's a horror show.
Yeah. All right, anything more on that? I think not. The floor is yours, Dave, what do you have?
Really don't have much of anything. We mentioned at the top of the meeting, minute taker was hired, Carrie Goodwin, so she is taking the reins for this tonight. That's really all I got.
You folks been mostly working on budget.
Yep, started Monday, and I'm sure, yeah, we're not meeting this Monday, but the following, we'll be reconvening on that, so.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Does anybody have anything else to speak?
Yeah, just quick, I don't know, like, the gate at Bank Schmidt got torn down by someone, but I don't know, like, because Public Works took that old gate, and moved it further back at the back of the field and the way into the pit. On the long road that goes up in there, so that's all ripped apart.
Gateway?
On Bank Schmidt. So you remember like, that, I don't know, let's see, I think Ray had the gate up front and somebody moved the gate further back. So the gate's like at the wood line, but it's torn apart. And that's the same one the police had the shooting range sign on, so that sign's like gone too. Because when we first bought it, the road was wide open, you could drive all the way up to the pit. So
Right.
nobody ever really talked to us about putting a gate in, somebody just did it, so assuming it was Public Works. And so that's torn up. And then,
For our purposes, do we want a gate there for conservation purposes?
no, unless somebody starts dumping.
Right.
But you do have problems with rules with active.
So might the
pits.
town, for other purposes such as the fact that there is a
Gravel pit,
active
yeah.
gravel pit back there, need or want to have, some sort of limitation on vehicle traffic in there?
Yeah, I'll bring it up at
I think we
meeting
need
and
to
have a
have
discussion.
Probably want a legit gate like we've got on the town forest, like one of the big heavy steel ones, if you're really, if we're really serious about keeping people out of there.
Okay.
And then there's,
Public Works might have some ideas on it.
yeah, and then there's like a bunch more, material in there to spread on the field.
Really? I thought we kiboshed that. It's almost,
It appeared to me like there was way more than the last time we talked about it, it's just all sitting there.
yeah.
So two things on that, like, we don't know what we're doing, obviously, or you might know what we're doing, we don't know what we're doing. And then just getting a handle at some point on like some kind of agreement on stuff that gets hauled in, like, we don't wanna end up contaminating an area, what's, who knows what's in, what the source is, we just don't know, so.
And Naomi, just confirming, you did not receive a response, didn't ask for a response, but didn't receive a response on the letter from a couple months ago?
Yeah, I've heard nothing from him.
Okay.
Yeah, I just visually think there's more stuff there. I could be mistaken, I'm getting old and foggy, but,
So you think more get put on?
no, it's
after?
piles,
Just
big piles in the back,
Bring it up
yeah.
big piles of,
Mhm.
yeah, manure.
There's like a spreader out there, and
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna s-
really dark black, I'm surprised, I don't know what the source
Yeah,
is. And,
I'm sure it's
It's not sludge,
composted.
is it?
Hmm?
It's not sludge, is it?
No.
I don't know what it is.
Usually it's an ash, the dark is usually a dark ash that I've seen the farmers use a lot for pH balancing, but then it's usually mixed with
Compost.
composted manure of some sort.
Yeah, sludge would be a horror,
Yeah.
cause that's like, Maine with the whole PFAS thing. that
Well, you'd
Yeah.
be surprised, they sell a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what
Right.
he's doing, because it's,
Well, if we ever,
The thing is, we're not under proper management controls on that at this point.
no, I
And
mean,
we've been,
well, maybe. she
we're,
could
we're,
put
we're
in
in, we're in
the
hold,
second.
and we'll just leave it, we're in hold, and unfortunately, that's the reality.
yeah, so just informational more than anything.
Yep, thanks for mentioning that, Steve. Anything else? We got that final motion for a 9/12.
I make a motion, or I second it.
I'm not, you made the motion, I'm just suggestion. Do we have a second on the motion to adjourn? Mark seconds it. All in favor of adjourning at 9:13, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor.